Welcome to the second edition of the news for this week, and thanks for joining us. Barely 3 days to the Christmas feast, where food prices drastically increase, inhabitants of the city of Douala have found where to get food commodities at affordable prices: the Christmas Trade Fair Market. It is at the Bepanda Camtel Esplanade that the Littoral Governor Samuel Dieudonné Ivaha Diboa launched the 20th edition of the Christmas Trade Fair Market, organized annually. The governor noted that the prices of basic food commodities on the site is to permit everyone to go back home with something for the celebrations.
This time we have seen that we have the new products as far as rice is concerned. We were not used to see rice here in the Littoral region. The former one was the one of Sanchu, but we have seen how people at the level from Banga are also involved in this matter. So we are encouraging all the agriculturals to continue to keep on trying and diversifying the products, so that the Littoral region not only is useful for the Cameroon as a whole, but also for the other countries around us. So we are a kind of hub that is bringing more products to help the people of our sub-region to be fitted as far as the agriculture is concerned.
At the trade fair, a bunch of plantain, which presently costs 4,000 francs CFA, can be bought at 1,500 francs CFA. While producers complain of loss, consumers rejoice of the drop in price of such products. Tenge Ulrich, a poultry farmer, says the affluence of customers at his stand is encouraging.
There are some people that will complain. You have to certify the customer. I said 1.5 is 3.5. Yes, the stock is already finished. You can see the stock is already finished. I'm just waiting for another one to come.
Other food commodities that could be found at the Christmas Trade Fair Market is yam, fresh fish, palm oil, and many more. It was without a handshake, but the signatures were enough to seal the alliance between Cameroon through the Minister of Public Health and South Korean Meditest Company. Minister Manauda Malachi of the Ministry of Public Health last December 18 signed Cameroon in a process whereby automatic control will take place on arrivals and departures at the borders through systematic tests to detect COVID-19 patients. This is to minimize the risk of importing a new wave of contamination of the virus into the country. As of December 19, travelers who board flights at the Douala and Yaoundé airports are forced to pay 60,000 francs CFA to be screened, while those entering into the country had to pay 30,000 francs CFA. This has been a bitter pill for travelers whose reactions were immediate. The web was stormed by thousands of internet users who denounced this practice. One of the most shared reactions is that of Calix Beyala, who also came across the information. The writer has accused the government of extortion. She decried that Cameroonians who travel abroad are petty traders who go and bring back commodities for sale. An outcry which prompted Minister of Public Health to write on his Twitter page, "Following the very high instructions of the head of state, I clearly specified that the tests, both on departure and on arrival in Cameroon, remain free and for all travelers." He later reiterated the aspect on national television on December 21, 2020, a fallback which relieves travelers but gives the impression that the announcement of December 18 will be a test plug. In the East region of Cameroon, the town of Bertoua has launched the mini agro-pastoral and artisanal fair in the region for this year. The launching ceremony saw the participation of rural people in agriculture and crafts who came to showcase their know-how. Farmers had the opportunity to display their crops, from farm products to fish products. Also present was the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Gabriel Barobe, who presided over the launching ceremony, saw for himself and appreciated the diverse agricultural riches of the East region.
I'm very satisfied by the diversity of crops. I've seen a lot of crops. I've seen cassava, I've seen plantain, I've seen yams, I've seen palm oil, soya beans, beans, red beans, and many crops. I can say that the food security is assured in the East region.
It was also a golden opportunity for farmers to impose their challenges to the government representative, challenges which hindered them from doing better and profiting from their farm products. Looking at the main problem, which is poor farm-to-market roads, Minister Barobe promised to look into the issue.
I've seen dynamic people, dynamic producers. Indeed, they are complaining of the problem of the road from farm to market. The government is doing its best. We will put more money for the council to rehabilitate the roads.
Improving farm input is another priority project for the government, he said.
We are trying to provide fertilizer and pesticide and especially improve seeds for the farmers.
This ceremony was also marked by the handing over of vehicles to various departmental delegates and off-road motorcycles to heads of agricultural posts for proper monitoring of the farms. Out of Cameroon, a political dialogue between the government and the opposition in Ivory Coast opened on Monday, December 21. This comes after the contested re-election of President Alassane Ouattara in the last presidential election of October 31, 2020. Their first contact consisted of the main Ivorian political opposition, namely the PDCI, that is Democratic Party of Côte d'Ivoire of Henri Konan Bédié, the FPI, that is Front Populaire Ivoirien of Pascal Affi-N'Guessan, and the EDS platform, close to the former president Laurent Gbagbo. All were gathered around Prime Minister Ahmed Bakayoko. The main objective of the dialogue is first to prepare the legislative elections scheduled for the first quarter of 2021, with the still hot topic of Independent Electoral Commission, which opponents still define as subject to power. But above this electoral deadline hover other issues presented as emergencies for the opposition, namely the release of its activists and political executives as a prerequisite for any dialogue. However, the first meeting was held to see in what direction this debate will evolve in the days to come. Supporters of the National Democratic Congress (NDC) opposition party have held demonstrations across Ghana on Sunday, asking for the result of the December 7 presidential vote, in which President Nana Akufo-Addo emerged winner, to be overturned. Dressed in red, they sang their party slogans while police kept an eye on them to prevent the protest from evolving into violence. The march was mostly peaceful, but some young men burned car tires, prompting a brief confrontation with security forces. President Nana Akufo-Addo was announced the winner of these elections with 51.59% of the vote by the National Election Commission. NDC's leader, former President John Mahama secured 47.36% of the vote, according to the results announced. The nation's opposition leader John Mahama rejected the presidential and parliamentary election results, accusing the ruling party and President Akufo-Addo of engaging in fraud to retain power. Overwhelming evidence available makes it impossible for us to accept these porous and hurried conclusions, Huranu Idrusu, a member of parliament for the National Democratic Congress party, said. The ruling party has, however, insisted that the vote was free and fair. The election was the third time the two men were facing each other in a vote. Akufo-Addo has been declared winner in 2 occasions, and post-election periods and transitions have always been peaceful in Ghana since the creation of multi-party politics in the West African nation. The government of Central African Republic says foreign troops were sent to the country after alleged coup bid ahead of presidential and parliamentary polls scheduled for next week. This comprises hundreds of troops from Russia and Rwanda sent to support the government and secure Sunday's vote. They also comprise heavy equipment, announced Ange Maxime Kazagi, spokesperson for the Central African government, without specifying their exact number or the date of their arrival. The newly deployed forces would have different rules of engagement, which will enable them to protect our forces from being attacked and protect civilians, Rwandan President Paul Kagame said on Monday. The Russian government has not confirmed this yet, but presidential spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Monday that Russia considered the situation in Central African Republic a matter of serious concern. At least 750 Rwandan soldiers and police officers have already been operating under the UN peacekeeping force in MINUSCA. The number of additional Rwandan soldiers deployed has not been given, but the Defense Ministry said the operation was done under existing bilateral agreement with Central African Republic. The Rwandan and Central African Republic governments have accused ex-President Francois Bozizé, whose presidential candidacy was rejected by the court, of backing the rebels and plotting a coup, which he has denied. UN peacekeepers have said the rebel advance has been halted. The United Nations Security Council condemns the violence by armed groups and other militia in a statement on Monday, after being briefed on the situation by UN peacekeeping forces in the country. The members of the Security Council called on all actors to urgently cease hostile actions and work towards ensuring conditions conducive to the holding of the upcoming elections. The Council said security forces and UN peacekeepers have been battling rebels who have occupied towns and roads outside the capital. In this country, marked by a bloody civil war, armed groups occupy more than 2/3 of the country. A new variant of the coronavirus has been detected in South Africa, driving spikes in cases. The information was announced by the Health Ministry on Friday, December 18, noting that this could explain the speed of transmission of the second wave, which also affects younger people. This 501V2 variant of the virus has been identified by South African researchers and reported to the World Health Organization, but doctors have also noted a shift in the epidemiological landscape. This has led several countries to impose travel restrictions on flights to and from the Rainbow Nation in recent days. South African scientists are studying if the vaccines against COVID-19 will also offer protection against the new strain, as it is said to be different from the one in Britain and appears to be more infectious than the original virus. The country currently has more than 8,500 people hospitalized with COVID-19, surpassing the previous 8,300 recorded in August. So far, A total of 912,477 virus cases have been recorded in the country, including 24,539 deaths. Out of the African continent, U.S. President-elect Joe Biden received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine on Monday, telling Americans seconds after getting the shot, "There is nothing to worry about. I am doing this to demonstrate that people should be prepared when it's available to take the vaccine," Mr. Biden said from Newark, Delaware, where he got the jab live on TV. The shot was administered at Christiana Care Hospital in Newark by Tabe Massa, who is a nurse and practitioner and the head of employee health services at the hospital, according to the Biden transition team. He said the Trump administration deserves some credit for launching the country's vaccine program. "I think the administration deserves some credit getting this off the ground with Operation Warp Speed," Biden said. Mr. Biden's vaccination comes 1 week after the first doses of the vaccine were injected into healthcare workers and days after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration granted emergency use authorization for a second coronavirus vaccine. Jill Biden, incoming First Lady, who also received her first dose earlier in the day, the president-elect said. Mr. Biden's running mate, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, and her husband are expected to receive their first shots next week. During the pandemic, the U.S. has recorded more than 18 million cases and 913,000 deaths. The Biden team has set a goal of 100 million COVID-19 vaccinations in the U.S. during the administration's first 100 days in the White House. Still in the USA, the Congress voted on Monday evening to approve a $900 billion COVID relief package that promises to accelerate vaccine distribution and deliver much-needed economic aid to individuals and businesses across the country. The bill, which was passed by the Senate with a 91-7 vote after being approved by the House with a vote of 359-53, includes a $1.4 trillion full-year spending bill that will fund the government through the end of the fiscal year on September 30. It will now be sent to President Donald Trump to be signed into law, with his approval expected in the coming days. The White House has said that President Donald Trump will sign the legislation once it reaches his desk. The package includes aid for vaccine distribution and logistics, extra jobless benefit of $300 per week, and a new round of $600 stimulus checks, half of the amount provided in checks distributed in March under the CARES Act. Small businesses will also benefit from more government grants, while the package also includes rental assistance and help to families facing eviction. It is a good bipartisan deal, Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said. "We will do some good with this legislation." The seal is the second largest economic stimulus in U.S. history, following a $2.3 trillion aid bill passed in March. It comes as the pandemic accelerates, infecting more than 214,000 people in the country each day. More than 317,000 Americans have already died from coronavirus. France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Russia, and a host of other countries were amongst those who shut off travel ties with Britain after Prime Minister Boris Johnson warned that a highly infectious new strain of the virus was a danger to the country. Following this cut-off, Britain held crisis talks with which Johnson's government is working with France in an attempt to find a way to lift border closures that have threatened one of Europe's most important trade routes just days before the Brexit. It deprives France from dispatching goods to Britain, disrupting supply chains and raising the prospect of food and drug shortages in Britain over the Christmas holiday season. After a conversation with French President Emmanuel Macron, Johnson said he understood the reason for the restrictions and expressed hope for a swift resumption in the free flow of traffic between the UK and France. In a press conference on Monday, British Prime Minister urged Britons to remain calm, saying most supplies are coming in and out of the country as normal. I have just spoken to French President Emmanuel Macron and we both understand each other's problems and want to resolve the problems, Johnson said, adding that he understood the anxieties of Britain's neighbours but said there was little risk of a spread via truck drivers. He said officials from both countries were working to unblock the flow of trade as fast as possible. Macron said earlier that France was looking at establishing systematic testing of people for the virus upon arrival. The European Medicines Agency EMA has authorized and recommended the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for use in the bloc's 27 states and its nearly 448 million inhabitants after it went into circulation in the UK and the US. After EMA scientists concluded that the vaccine is safe, officials at the Amsterdam-based agency recommended its conditional approval for it to be distributed across the 27-nation bloc. In a press conference announcing the recommendation, Dr. Gerard Ensman, chairman of the Committee for Medical Products for Human Use, said the vaccine study offered an unusually large amount of data on how elderly people react to the vaccine. The vaccine showed a 95% efficacy rate. The European Medicines Agency has set the lower limit for vaccination at 16 years old. However, there is not enough data on how pregnant women react to the vaccine, the Medicines Agency added. More than 311,000 lives have been lost to the pandemic across the bloc as EU countries are currently fighting with a fierce second wave of the virus. The authorization will pave the way for a possible start of vaccination in Europe on December 27. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that the first batches will be shipped from the manufacturing site in the coming days to be distributed across the EU. This is a very good way to finally start turning the page on COVID-19, she noted, adding that this first vaccine is a true European success story. We have come to the end of the news. Thanks for watching. Stay on DBS TV for programs continue. Good night.